Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So if you have been follow my Instagram, you will see recently I'm working on hair. If you have any experience about the new hair systems since 3.3 Blender, you will know it's highly relied on the geometry node, and it's kind of like a nightmare to work with from the beginning. So that's why I built this tool to help you guys. So this video is not beginner tutorial for new hair systems. It's a introduction for this tool. So if you want to know the basic new hair systems, I'm highly recommend you go watch this video first. Nogi channel, he had very good introduction for the Blender hair systems. So I highly recommend you watch this video first, have some experience about this new hair system, and you come back. So for these tools, we can make some curly hair, wet hair. We can make something like the straight hair, like a pulling down from the gravity. And also we have some kind of collision for our body because these new hair systems didn't have collision. So I make a note for the collision. It's easier for you to brush your hair. And also you can make more like a stylish hairstyle. So that is how it looks. This human model that I built from the add-on called Human Generators. If you like to what you see, you can go download this add-on. The link is down in the description. And I make some customized for that. And you see all this like extra stuff on the body. It's built for the CTM V1 Plus. So if you didn't watch that video, you can check that. So that is all the note for these hair tools I will talk about in this video, and I will share this for free. And thank you for you guys 1 year support. This is the first year for my channel, and it's a huge year for me. And thank you for all you guys support. And I hope the next year we will have more good stuff. So the coupon code for download this will be posted on my Patreon, and if you didn't join my Patreon, you will also can see this. So you will be free until the first week of the new year. So that's take a look how we use this. I'm showing you these tools. This is the character I'm using. It's created from the add-on called Human Generator. So if you like to use this, there's a link down the description. You can go check it out. Copy your character, name this to be hair root. Now we can cut out the rest of the only left the area that we want to grow the hair. Go to the edit mode for this edit mode, and we make some loop cut. Shift auto. We make some loop up and we delete place that we don't need. Make sure your loop cap is clean. Go this select loop, inner loop, and we invert that and delete the edge. So now we got this cap, and when we pose our character, cap will also follow the bone. So now we can make animation is the hair. When you do your styling for the hair, go to this rest post, so you will in the original post. Okay, so now we click on this cap, shift A, this curve and empty hair. So now we got this curve. This curve usually is inside of this root, is the children of this root. Click on this curve. Maybe we can name this to be A01 and just go to the scope mode. So we can just like draw some hair. So when we draw some hair, we will have this hair, but it's really thick. So now I'm using this preset. So just go to this geometry node. We can find this set radius. That is what is inside of this node. So you can see it's looking like this. If you want to build your own geometry node, you can see it like that. This is the fall off for the bottom to the tips. Let's name this so it's easier to see. Okay, and then we can do some like other base setup. Maybe we want to show some point. Show point. So now we have this point that is being showed. But if we try to, let's brush this, you will see in certain part that we cannot really brush it. So if you try to brush this place, it didn't work. The reason for that is because some setting in this area, kind of like a subdivision, but it just looks like that. But when we brush, it still only calculate the original like a 0. Even we set it to 3, we cannot brush all other point. So now we wanted to kind of like a resample that. Another geometry node, that sample, and put it before the show point. You will show the correct point that is being resampled. So maybe we can set it to be like 20 or 30 first. Although it looks being resampled, but it still cannot be brushed for this some point. That's because we have to apply this. So that's duplicate this, okay, and we apply the duplicate one. So now here we apply that, we can actually like a brush all this point. Now let's try to add more hair. Well, we can use this mirror and just add more hair and set this to be the amount you want to add, and just and you have to brush one side, so you don't brush like that. You have to brush like a carefully on the middle. But I built some note that help you to do this. I think it's even better and we have more benefit for that. So let's delete all this and turn off this mirror. So let's create another note and put it right above this and just below this one. So let's create an empty one, and I will set this to be hair setup. Okay, so we can do all the note inside of here. You can actually put all this inside of here, put it here, but I prefer put this base setup outside and this detail setup all in one node. So we can use a mirror, hair mirror, and we set this is a root object. Let's pick this our hair root, which is the place that we grow our hair. So in this case, it turned this X mirror on. So now when we add more hair, it will be mirror as well. Now we try to brush this. So now we can actually brush even more carelessly. So if we brush just right this way, with one brush, we can get our result. The reason for that is because actually we only have one side of hair, and this geometry node, it mirror that. And let's resample this again. We duplicate this and we apply. So now we can brush even more detail. So when you do your hair, best you don't put all your hair all at once, because the more hair you have, is more difficult to brush them. We can brush them, like less in the beginning, and we have more and more the side. So just keep in mind, you only have one side of hair, which is this part. So don't brush here, it didn't work, just brush here. So, and something about brushing hair, just have to be very patient. There's no shortcut. Even there's some tools to help you, you still have to be very careful. And also, if you want to do it this like a straight hair style, best you don't grow like the hair from here, just all grow it from the top of your hair. Don't grow like a realistic old the part. So now let's see in all direction. We have to make it like a directional direction, and then we start to add more hair. So the reason why I'm doing this kind of straight hair as example, because I think the straight hair is one of the style that is most difficult to do. If you can do a good straight hair, the other style, it will not be a big problem for you. So So now we try to add more hair. So it's because I have turned on this, so the new hair that I add will be looking for the transition of each hair. So it will follow the old hair you have. So when I go like very weird straight. So now we have more hair, so we can try to brush it. So, and one benefit that we make a cap of this hair is sometimes we want to see inside of this model and to see what is inside, because sometimes something is not good. And if we have this cap, we can just turn off our human model and we can see it very easily. So now I'm trying to push some part that is inside of this hair to outside of this cap. That is because this new hair system, right now it didn't have collision. I don't know it will be added in the future or what, but actually I have built a node, work as a collision. Let's go to our hair setup, hair collision. Okay, so you can pick any object as your collision, but it have to be like a closed object. So don't use this hair root as your collision object. Maybe we can try to use this human model first as our collision. So if I brush this hair inside of this model head, and I want to bring this out, sometimes it's a little bit difficult. So this time we can just use this collision and turn on. So in this case, even I brush like a very careless, it will be have like a collision. But it's best we make like a separate model for collision. Again, that we just duplicate this model, and just go to the element, and we just leave some part that we wish to have the collision. Actually, I don't need these ears, and I want to fill in these eyes, because the collision will calculate this eye socket as the collision. That's not correct. We only need the shell of this model, and also the mouse. We will need to cut out of all this part. Let's go to the animal and let's cut these ears. So select this, and also this inner loop. Press X to dissolve vertex. Okay, and also the other place. Okay, and also actually I don't quite need the rest of the body, so and make sure this face orientation are correct. So we use this as our collision. So if we go to this collision and we give us some displacement, make it a little bit outward, so the collision will be outside of the model. So in this case, when we brush our hair, we can actually more carefree. But again, you still have to be a little bit careful. So now it will never go inside of your body. This is the collision. So if you see here, with this shoulder, you can see it will push out. It almost like a real collision. But so now if we hide this model, and let's try to see this collision. You see, your actual hair now is actually become like this, and with this collision you kind of like push it outside. But actually that's too much. You don't really want your hair looks like that. So in this case, you can do it like that first, and so maybe you mute this and you new geometry node and use this collision and use this for the collision model. So you apply this modifier Maybe we can also duplicate this and apply the new one. We hide the original. So now we don't use collision because we already applied that, and now we can, from there we can brush again. Okay, so now let's keep going to show other nodes. We have this very basic here. One thing you can do to make it thicker, you can use this density to make it thicker, right? So if I just shift out, see this symbol like this. So maybe I want the thickness like this, and just brush this, keep brushing, and you add more thickness, as well on the side, and add more thickness, and maybe up here, and here. Right. So now we have thicker hair, but I will like to use geometry node to do this. So I can use another node called hair children. Almost like an old hair's particle systems. So maybe I say it to be 10. We have more thickness, and this is the range. So this is like the random range, and you have different seed and XY to control it, how it will be affect. And also pick your root object. So the very beginning of the point will be fixed on your root object. So like that, you see. Okay, so now we can make the range really big, but normally make it like a really small. So now we have more hair, and you can go to inside of this node. There's like a fall off. So you see you have this fall off on the top. So this is like a more, the offset is like wider, and go to the very tips, it will all trim into the original hair. So you can do some change for the fall off, but if you want to change the fall off, it's best that you make a duplicate of this. Okay, so now it will not affect the original node. More loose, you can do it like that. So now we have more hair, and so that is one way to make some children. Okay, so now we see this part. We have to remove hair. I can remove some of the hair. I can use this density. The easier way to search, you just click a button line and press the character. So now I can reduce some of this. So sometimes we just like to reduce hair, and that in this case, if I scope, it's easier to see, like a see-through. Let's use another something else. We can try to use some noise offset. Okay, so if we plug this noise offset, you will see your hair have some kind of noise amount. Change like all the hair or less hair. So if you want to your hair have some random, like a little bit random, you can do it like this and make it like a smaller, so it looks like naturally you have some hair that is like popping out. It's like that. Of course, if you want to your whole hair looks like a very rough, you can do it like that. Then you can use some seed to change. Spine ID, that is something very important. So if I use something called that spine ID in the very beginning, okay, and I use some name attribute and go to the integer here, and I pick this spine ID. Okay, so that is with spine ID, and that is without spine ID. If you see more carefully, you will see without the spine ID, like your hair is being treated like a one object. But if you use spine ID, if you set this spine ID in the beginning, use this node, plug this to here, all your children will be treated as one object. So each string will have different noise. So it's kind of like that. This way you can have some almost like a curly hair, but since we talk about curly hair, I can show you we have more note for just for curly hair, so I can mute this first. First one is called curly hair, and another one is called wave hair. So this tool is kind of similar. So right away, if we plug this curly hair inside, you can see it like this. Because the curly hair it has to do something with your hair sampling, so I have built in the like a resample inside. Find a correct sampling you want, and also this frequency. This will give you some curly hair. Take some direction. And you also need to control the fall off inside of your note. So that is the way to make some curly hair. Okay, so that is that. And another is slow wave hair. It's a little bit similar, but a little bit different. So it's relied on another object. So we just try to use a plane, and we can drag it over here and sample this. So the close of this hair, it will be stronger, and also you can just like rotate this. You can get effect different way, and we can just set this object as wireframe, so we will not see that. It's kind of like a wavy effect, but if you tweak some of this number, it can be almost like a curly hair as well. These two highly relied on your sampling count, because you need to have more sample to calculate this curvature. What else we can talk about? Make this hair length longer, so we can grow our hair. So grow hair. So now this hair looks longer, so you see it just like automatically grow longer. But since we have some fall off for these children, so maybe we can do it in the beginning. That make more sense. So maybe after the mirror, so we can grow this hair, looks longer, right? So now we can grow like very easily. And we have grow hair, we also can cut hair. Use this cut point or spine. So we'll just plug in with this, and we need to use an object to cut it, something like a cube. Okay, so if we put it over here, and we set this to be wire, so we have this to cut our hair. Just pick this cube, so we can just cut directly from this cube. If we put it like on the side, yeah, so we can use this to cut our hair like that. And you can use multiple objects to like do this. Just pick another object to cut again. So you can use this to give your hairstyle. Okay, so now we got this hairstyle, and you can set this to be spine, so it will cut all the spine at some point if it's inside of this object. Sometimes it's useful to calculate if you want to cut some point that is inside of your hair, you just want to remove that totally, you can use spine to do that. And you just pick this object as your collision object. Sometimes it will help you to do that. Okay, so that is cut hair, and that is the invert. Sometimes it will be useful. And something we have like trim hair, so it also like shorten your hair. Okay, and also we can use some noise to cut our hair. Noise cut. You can cut your hair like randomly. Sometimes it will give you some idea to style your hair So this can give me some idea, and I can just like make a duplicate of this, and also I just go inside of this and I can control the noise inside. Cut short spine. It just means if the hair is so short to some degree, it will be removed. So sometimes we don't want this hair, some very short one, because it will have like a very unexpected result. We can just use that to like remove some of the short hair. But in this case, you don't need to do that. So can mute that. Sometimes it's really useful. For other things to talk about, we can talk about this puff first, hair puff. So I can put the end of this. This will just like make your hair like a puff. It will just puff your hair, and you can like rotate it. So sometimes, and as always, you duplicate this and like change the follow. So that is the puff. Sometimes it's also very useful. If I set this something like a negative a little bit, and I set this to be collision, and maybe invert this, and I just find some amount. Like this image, I can make this hair like a very wet on like a stuck on your face, right? Maybe now I can talk about the set material. So just use this set material, and inside of this material, I have built some attribute you can use inside of your hair material. Most important one is this hair vector. If you create like a new material, so if you go to this hair material, you can just use principle here. But this principle here only work with cycle. So if you want to use Eevee, you just use this and pick some number. We can use this attribute. So hair vector, you can try to plug this with color to see. So you see close to the top is black and to the end is like a white. So maybe if we use color ramp will be stronger. Okay, so let's make it like this. If we use mix color, now to put this to the effect, tips is black and downside is like red orange control. You can even mix with more color if you do it like that. This and red, just plug this to be another color. You can even use this number for the like roughness. So if I set this all to be black, and I use this number for the roughness, maybe I would like to invert that more toward the end, looks more wet. So you see this black line, that is because of this hair root. So set this to be like not rendering. You just turn off all this, and it will not cause any shadow, or it will not be rendered. So maybe we need more children, and you just like do it whatever you want. These two that we didn't talk about. So let's mute all this. So these two is for after you do your hair, right? So let's see if I'm happy with this hairstyle right now. Let's apply all this. First, I better set this to be rest position, and I go here. I can just apply this hair setup. I can mute this first and duplicate, turn on, and I apply this. So now it's not longer use the mirror, it's actually being real hair. So when I go to scope this, if I didn't turn on this X, it will only brush for the one side. So now it becomes like a real hair, not using the mirror for the geometry. Can delete the part that I don't want, which is almost like everything. Now if I turn my head down, so you will see your hair is like a solid object that is very unrealistic. So that's when we can do something about this. So just use this weight. Okay, so plug this in. You will find your hair is pulling down in this direction. You can use collision. In this case, you will see your hair is naturally pulled down. If I turn this to be a side, it also looks fine. It's just here it's because of this collision. Depend on your situation, how you want it to cut your collision. You don't have to rebrush your hair, but this is not meant to like as a real physics. So it's for your like a still image. So it's not perfect, but it works. So in the future, there's like a simulation node. I'm sure these things will be much better. And also this grow plus weight is similar, just like you can also grow your hair longer. So let's see from the side when you want to grow your hair longer, but also make it like have some kind of weight. Okay, so give some direction, and this part a little bit unnatural. You just use control the fall off inside, control here. The other is like this layer and this pick layer ID. So if I use this layer ID and also this hair layer, so if I use this hair layer 1, okay, so and I use this joint geometry, and I use another layer, set this to be 2, okay, and I grab this to here, and I join geometry them. So now you see we use this same hair twice. So if I use like half, okay, so I can have one of this, and maybe density, I can make it this only a little bit, noise cut for this part, and noise part, different part of this here. Yeah, so you can have some idea that you can do something about this. Just you use one set of hair to like separate them and join them, so you can do some hairstyle for this. And the good thing about this as well is we go to this material. If I duplicate this and set this to be like a red, and I use mix shader, apply this to here, okay, and I use attribute, and we have this like a layer ID, right? So I just use layer ID, and I use map and use compare back to here, and set this to be 0. Set this to be 0 first, and set the value to 1. So now I can use one material to set in different material, because sometimes it's not only about color. Maybe you want this to be like metal or something, you can do that. So if I have like a third layer, you set like a 1, layer 2, layer 3. Okay, so here use this layer ID, and you pick like a layer 2 for this one, which is this, and you just make another one, and you pick layer 3 here for this. So that is like that. You can like turn off or turn on. And this pick layer is meant to be used in the other set of geometry node, but it can work like this as well. So we just pick like that. And not just that, and also if I switch this to be mirror, remember we have used this mirror node to mirror our hair. Actually, we can also use this attribute, or this, I said this mirror have some kind of ID, so you can choose like one part of your hair. So I believe we can also use this to color our hair. If I use this mirror ID for this, and set this to be like, yeah, so if I use mirror ID to set our hair, you can see we can have separate color for this hair, and maybe something like that. You just can't go very crazy about this. Okay, so that is that. Although we have already applied this mirror node, but the attribute is actually already written inside of this hair. So if we go to this hair, you can see all the attribute being written from the geometry node. It's all inside of here. If you don't need this at all, you can just like delete that from here. Okay, I think I almost cover everything except like one very important note, instancing here. So let's get rid of everything and let's try to make it here. And just delete everything, and I try to make something that is easier to understand. So now I have only 2 string of hair. Let's try to use this hair instancing and just pick this root object. So now we have kind of like a children. Make more. We have this, and if we have like a maybe 3, okay. So the show original here means you will show this. You will see this one is actually our original hair. So if I click off, it will not show the original hair. This one will show, so let's show that. And the base on original hair means all this offset for our instancer, it will warp on your base hair. Sometimes that is very useful, which is if you want to do like that, and if I don't want, I can make a rotation. Okay, so maybe transform this like a offset your position. So if I want to go higher, okay, and maybe I want it to have rotation, maybe I want it to be like a rotate all the way to the back. Okay, so this time I can use layer. Here I don't want it to be rotate. See, I can have duplicate, kind of like a duplicate this. So that's not talk about this. We can talk about that later. If I use this warp on original hair, it will like warp to here. Whenever I rotate, it will just go there. That is the original hair. If now I make more hair, can have some very interesting result. Curly hair, can try to put it after, a little bit different. And also it has the fall off that we can control. You know, these tools, they really have too much possibility, and I have recorded this video about 10 times because it got too many things to cover and too many very specific detail. I think I'm still not doing a very good job this time, but anyway, I had to release this video. It's already been delayed, and I have to share these tools with you guys for free on my Patreon the first week of the new year. Even you didn't join my Patreon, you can go check. This post will be public, so everyone, even you didn't join the Patreon, you can see that. You can get a coupon code to download in the Gumroad. And I really hope these tools can help you guys to make. Maybe it will be a little bit difficult to use at first, but once you get into it, it's super fun. Furthermore, it can join with CTN V1. You can have like a super cool result. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to support me, you can join my Patreon. Hope to see you in 2023. See you. Bye bye.